we are now live. So hello to everyone. If you've joined right on time, we'll get going in a few minutes. Just give folks a few more minutes to join. Hello, Adam. Hello, David. Are you well? You okay?
Doing well. Yeah, happy to be here. Excited. Thank you.
Good stuff.
How's it going?
I'm good. I'm all right, thanks. We'll just have a little bit of a casual chat, and for those just joining, just get the chat going. I'm going to pose a bit of a casual question about what's something that doubles up or doubles down as something else, and I'll give you all a few minutes to have a think about that. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to throw in the dual-purpose photocopier and fax machine. That was my that's my good doubling up, doubling down.
And I guess,
yeah, actually, on that note, for any of our younger viewers, a fax machine was it's a bit like sending a text, but using a piece of paper. Yeah. now you just send a text. That's obviously much better, but back in the day, that's all we had. What about you? What about you, Adam? Anything?
Oh man, good question. I don't know. I use my Doberman as a security system every now and then.
Good use. Yeah.
Happens. Just get some weirdos out there.
Yeah. And what about you, David? You got any suggestions?
I mean, I don't know. It seems like nowadays all technology pretty much doubles or triples or quadruples or whatever it is, all these different things.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I was looking at the fax machine. Apparently did you know that it was actually invented in like 1840s or something like this? Goes back.
Really?
Yeah, I think they had like a telegraph system that like printed out the Morse code or something. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. Very interesting. So hang on, wait, that was before the telephone then?
I don't know, probably. It's probably like when they were doing just the Morse code telegraph stuff.
Yeah.
Reaching back to my high school history days, not doing too well.
Yeah, if anyone knows the exact date the telephone was invented, that would be great. But I suppose it stands to reason that perhaps sending data before voice would have been more achievable. I feel like we've strayed off topic, gang. Let's try and bring it back on. Okay, so we're getting close to getting started. Let's officially kick this off. So hello again, Adam. You're joining us from Webstacks, and David joining us from Contentful. Hello to you both. Before we get started, I need to do a little bit of housekeeping for everyone tuning in. So first things first, the webinar is recorded, and approximately next week, you'll receive another email letting you know where you can download a closed caption version. So it'll be ready for you, I think about a week after today. You can rewatch that whenever it's convenient. So yes, we've got David, Senior Software Engineer from Contentful, and Adam, Marketing Operation Lead from Webstacks. Hello to you both.
Good morning.
So I think we're pretty much ready to go. If you're all set, Adam, I can just hand this over to you now.
Sounds great.
So, which website will we be discussing today, Adam?
What a great place to start. Today we are going to be discussing ServiceTitan. This is a shared customer between the three of us, obviously. Just for anybody who isn't aware, ServiceTitan is an $8 billion software unicorn that offers industry-leading turnkey business software for building contractors. And we've been partners with them for about 3 years now. So exciting things happen with them, and very excited to talk about what we've been able to accomplish with them.
Wonderful. So yeah, let's get going. I mean, what made you decide to use Gatsby and Contentful?
Yeah, so we actually had help going into this project because Brian Olshock, who is ServiceTitan's VP of Pipeline Generation, and real quick, who's done an awesome job leading the evolution of that website, had already had experience and a lot of success with a Jamstack website. And obviously by that we mean a headless architecture using software like Gatsby and Contentful, obviously, at a previous position, and he wanted to quickly re-implement it. and all of its major content deployment benefits, which we're going to be diving into today at ServiceTitan. So I think going back to a legacy CMS proved way too inefficient for Brian's lofty content production goals for ServiceTitan. So he was really itching to get back to a modern B2B website playbook, if you will. And naturally, you know, as a software company, generating pipeline is everything. You know, building a scalable lead generation machine is the best way to do that. The problem is that it's easier said than done, right? And it brings a lot of content production needs and demands for SaaS marketing teams. So without the right tech stack, right, which we'll be talking about, but also in addition to that, the organizational structure supporting it that empowers marketers and content creators, specifically at SaaS companies, it's impossible to build a content workflow. And by that, I mean the systems and processes that generate website content, right? From idea inception to deployment. It's impossible to build a content workflow that delivers a lot of content quickly, which is extremely important, especially, you know, today and in the economic downturn that we're experiencing, let alone a hyper-competitive industry like software.
And what were the main challenges going into the project? I mean, what was the client most focused on?
So there were a lot. there were three main goals that Brian and ServiceTitan were trying to accomplish. First, and this is you know, the main one, but also the lowest hanging fruit. Or not the main one, but it's lowest hanging fruit, and definitely one of the major considerations when switching to headless. You know, we wanted to increase page load speeds, right, for SEO and CRO, which, like I said, is one of the major benefits of going headless. At the end of the day, better website performance, faster page load speeds, you know, that typically leads to more conversions. So that in of itself is a huge boon. But you know, like I said, that was just the tip of the iceberg. They also wanted an industry-specific toolbox, right, to attract, educate, generate pipeline, right? That's one of the best ways to do that, you know, is to provide the relevant tools and calculators to help, you know, your ICP leads solve their specific problems. No one had that at the time, or at least nothing that was quite as substantial as what ServiceTitan had in mind. So it was a huge gap in the market, and you know, Brian knew that they needed to move quickly to get it built. You know, the problem was that the project was pretty big. It was a big undertaking. It called for significant development resources, and this is one of the biggest issues that we kind of hear about from our customers is they're leaning on their product engineering team, who's already stretched thin, you know, improving the product itself. So it wasn't really a viable option, and they need to look elsewhere. And like I said, that's a major issue at SaaS companies. It's honestly a bit surprising, right? The fact that SaaS marketing departments can't get the tools and resources they need to do their jobs well and be innovative content creators. But finally, and kind of like kind of evolving from that, and killing two birds with one stone, they needed a website with a simple back-end user interface, right, that allowed their content creators to deploy lots of net new content quickly. So these efficiencies, you know, that allowed us to build the toolbox that we're gonna dive into so quickly. And again, this is concerning both headless technology and the systems and processes around it. It allows their content team to build net new content really quickly. And just to get everybody on the same page, this is stuff as simple as blog updates, right? Which can be surprisingly difficult, a difficult task for some SaaS marketing departments. Just simply updating the blog, you know, net new landing pages or templates for landing pages, something as simple as a conversion component or a panel for the homepage, just to, you know, whether you're testing, you know, CRO, partner ecosystems, entire content hubs, and actually just to lean back on experimentation, just creating experimentation variants. And this is something that's very near and dear to me because I love testing things and you know, pretending to be a scientist. Anyone who has a robust experimentation program knows how important it is to have quick content workflows so those variants can be deployed quickly. And just as a side note for everybody, if you don't have an active website experimentation program, now is a great time to begin piecing one together.
Wonderful. There's a lot going on with
yeah,
this,
there was a lot there.
Yeah. Well, that sort of leads me on nicely to the next question then, which is, what kind of website did you build?
Yeah, so we, in a nutshell, it was a fast, agile, and scalable one, and I'm happy to unpack that. So, as I mentioned, on the surface, we built a fast-loading website that immediately improved SEO, UX, and by we, this is not Webstacks. This is all three of us. Obviously, I don't want to deny it. Like, this is the strength of all parties here, right? But it improved SEO, user experience, conversion rates, right? I think there was an almost 20% increase in conversion rates just by switching to headless. And that in and of itself is a huge boon, right? But looking deeper, the same tech stack that allows for what I just mentioned also supports a scalable content production engine for the website, right? Thanks to a CMS that empowers ServiceTitan's content editors and a content workflow that doesn't annoy ServiceTitan's product engineering team, which is a huge pain point that we're going to be leaning into today. So essentially now ServiceTitan has a marketing team with a content workflow that supports a fast and agile website, that can perform under load. It can generate pipeline. It does generate pipeline. And the whole point here is it increases market share faster, right? All of this great stuff. And just keep in mind, just remember, like, this is all without bothering the product developers who need to focus on improving the product, right? The perfect example of this is the industry leading toolbox that we that I mentioned, that we designed and built for ServiceTitan. It never would have been deployed as quickly as it was without a Jamstack website and the fast content workflows that were implemented around it. Because look, ServiceTitan's marketers are very smart, but they were having trouble getting content deployed because they had to lean on their product developers, right? This is a recipe for bottlenecks and frustration, right? So we removed that bottleneck by providing ServiceTitan with their marketing team with their very own integrated, and that's a key word there, integrated engineers who have finally been able to build the tools that their content creators need to do their job well. We also made it agile, right? I think I mentioned that. So we've also implemented agile methodology, which really kicks this whole website setup into high gear. And this really shouldn't be all that surprising because agile has been the gold standard in software development and the Fortune 500 for a while, right? It just makes sense that tech and software companies should have agile marketing departments too, right? Whether it's your product or it's your go-to-market strategy, being fast and adaptive is everything. And the best way to do that is with, an aligned cross-functional agile marketing team working with headless website architecture, right? And then finally, and this is a little bit off scope, but I think off topic, but I think it still conveys the same efficiencies. We upgraded ServiceTitan's website design system to what's called an atomic website design system, which is a really cool approach to designing websites and all of the necessary assets like a toolbox. It's essentially a building block approach, right? If we want to go kind of take a step back into our high school chemistry days, you have atoms and molecule. You combine atoms to form molecules. Molecules combine to form organisms. Organisms, so on and so forth. So it's this building block, kind of recyclable, scalable design system. And it's kind of funny because it's really only used by the Fortune 500 currently. even though these systems can benefit any size SaaS company, really. We actually published a guide about it not too long ago. I'm just realizing that. So I don't know if we can like send it out as a post-webinar correspondence. But we can. Oh, you know what? Actually, just Google it. If you Google Webstacks Atomic Design Guide, it should be the first one there. Or I'm not doing my job well. Anyways, but one thing I do want to make note of is, and this is really important, the toolbox didn't become successful overnight, right? Rarely does any marketing asset. This is a very important point. This asset is undergoing constant improvement, right? Just as a product goes through its iterative improvement, so too did this toolbox, right? And so should really any website, right? All of these new process upgrades allowed ServiceTitan's marketing team to continuously experiment, learn, evolve their website into the force that it's become. And then, sorry, I'm kind of talking a lot here, but last but not least, because this is extremely relevant now with the Great Resignation, right? That started a couple of years ago, and we're still dealing with this effect. And we actually talked about this in a previous webinar. We built a website that supported a content workflow that helps boost team morale. Because there aren't any more bottlenecks and frustration, and consequently boosts retention, right? Within SaaS marketing teams. I'm not kidding. Marketers are losing sleep over this stuff. We see this on the daily, and their job is tough enough, and we need to help them.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, I think your note about the atomic design systems, and we've typically approached these and these abstractions from a development perspective. But I think what you've opened up here is a similar approach that could be handed over to marketers to enable them to do more things. I mean, is that something you see a lot of, David? Like other sort of contentful customers building out these systems that allow marketers to build more flexible content?
Yeah, for sure. And I think we've actually even, tried to identify and help in that regard. We've, we recently haven't launched a new product called Launch. But what it really is it's just a tool to help marketers schedule all of the content and all of the marketing campaigns and all of that stuff that they've got going on. So, on top of being able to compose all of the marketing content that's going to go into their website or their digital product or what have you. They also now have the ability to kind of, in a nice visual way, schedule all these different campaigns, check the status of the campaigns. And I think, Adam, to your point, what's really nice is we also, allow for that A/B testing. You can either build your own app for A/B testing, or you can use some of the ones that are on the marketplace. So I think that really plugs in really well for the marketing kind of persona there. It enables a lot of what they want to do and makes it very easy, I would say.
Allows them to be creative.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming, you've got a lot of happy marketers now. I mean, was that one of the measurements for success? What were those goals, and, how were they defined, and how do you measure it?
Sure. So there's really two answers to that question. And as I said before, first was optimizing the website's performance, right? So that includes important metrics like page load speed, dwell time, right? How long are they staying on page? Conversion rate, right? So these are all extremely important today, but they're definitely not the whole picture, as we're kind of alluding to. Second was optimizing the marketing team's performance from a process and system standpoint. So things like, team alignment, collaboration, decision-making, agility, creative, things that are, we could probably categorize as intangibles, right? These are all things that affect speed to market. So we're measuring time from idea conception to deployment, right? Or how quickly it takes to deploy net new landing page, for example. So for ServiceTitan, what would initially take a couple weeks to develop, let's say, a landing page template, it's now only taking a couple of hours. And what enables this is the fact that we can meet weekly, sometimes even daily, to discuss marketing projects, since ServiceTitan's marketers are, and I'm going to be saying this again and again, no longer relying on their product development team. They're publishing something new every 2 weeks, whether it's a tool addition to the toolbox, a landing page improvement, fresh content hub, a test variant, you name it. And as a SaaS company, that's an important perspective to take, especially during this economic downturn. You should be constantly asking what got published, what's up next, what are we testing, what are we improving, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And as we touched on, this can ultimately be measured in marketing morale and retention rates, right? Marketers can be creative. We just spoke about this, and create unencumbered, right? Those are happy marketers, just like unencumbered product engineers are happy product engineers.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything further to add from you, David? Because it sounds, like Launch Compose is this kind of great tool that can allow marketers to kind of benchmark the kind of works that they're doing, but how creative and how much further are they going with the ability to see what they've actually accomplished?
Well, I think in general, we all know that when a marketing team or someone has to ask developers to implement something, we know that there's going to be, timelines and bottlenecks and things like that. So really, people that, are using these products, what they're finding is they can have the developers build, the product or the website or whatever up front. And if they kind of plan it right, then it's just a matter of using these UI tools that are provided to get all of the different dynamic products and websites that you want. So I think in that regard, it does unblock a lot of people from having to always go and find someone who knows how to code to get something done, which of course, I know people that code are in high demand, and so it's not always easy to get everything you need. But again, I think this sets up projects for success in the long run when you use these tools.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point about planning and getting the most out of things. And perhaps that leads on nicely to the next bit, Ad. I mean, what top tips can you share for people using Gatsby and Contentful?
Yeah, totally. So I'll just dive right into it. Take advantage of apps, right? And these were formerly known as UI extensions, and what Dave was kind of alluding to. Take advantage of apps within Contentful. And this is one of the first things that we notice, specifically within Contentful spaces, and the lowest hanging fruit to help marketers do their jobs better. One example is the component duplication app that we've designed and built. And we disseminate this across all of our clients. Contentful makes it pretty easy to do that. And it fractionalizes page creation time and is perfect for quickly building out content hubs or like test variants and whatnot, new landing page experiences. So I actually have a video that I want to screen share. Hopefully we don't run into any technical difficulties, but our CEO, Nikon Shahidi, actually took me through this specific app's functionality via screen share. So I want to share the screen share.
Go ahead.
So yeah, just give me a moment here to pull this up, and let me know if I'm doing this properly. Can you see his face?
I can see his face.
Cool.
Can we hear his voice?
Can everybody hear?
I'm not sure.
We're getting audio.
I don't think we're getting audio, no.
Oh, we're not getting audio. Oh boy. Sorry guys, 1 second here.
May have dropped out briefly there. I'm going to put that down to possibly an issue with internet connection. David, perhaps you could fill in some of the blanks, and we're going to try and piece this together by not having a key visual. But I think the point Adam was trying to get across there was that when these large content models are duplicated, so this might be something where you have a page with a number of sections, and then by duplicating the page, you then have to reduplicate all of the content fields individually. And I think what Adam was trying to point out was they built an app to automate this. Is this something that you see many people using?
Yeah. And I get, again, just to reiterate, I don't know if anyone else could, I had trouble seeing Adam's screen, but he was showing Contentful, and he was showing an entry in Contentful. And like you mentioned, Paul, we like Contentful comes with out of the box functionality to clone a page. But what it does is it clones the page, and then it clones all the references that you might have inside of that page. And what Adam wanted to do was he wanted to clone the page, but not actually clone the references. He wants the references to be all new. So you can think, if I've got like a home page and I want to clone it to make like a secondary page, but I don't want to keep all the home page elements. That's the app that Adam had built. And I think we see this with a lot of our customers. I mean, it's a main selling point, really, which is every time someone uses Contentful, or they're using Contentful for proof of concept, they might have a question like, hey, I see that you kind of have this functionality, but we want to tweak it, or we want to improve upon it. And I think traditionally what happens is, well, you put in a request with the company, and then they try and file that somewhere, and maybe it gets done as a feature request. But with Contentful, you actually have full access to improving, changing, modifying, augmenting the user interface. And I think that's what Adam was getting at using our app framework. It basically gives you the ability to go in and build all of these custom apps that they're pretty much as powerful as what you could get out of the box with Contentful. And I think people that aren't familiar with our app framework might feel like it's, very technical. And it does require some developer skill to get going. But at the end of the day, we do offer courses on how the app framework works. Oh, here's Adam. I think we've got him back. But just to finish up my thought, we offer courses on how the app framework works. And for developers, it actually ends up being fairly straightforward, because what happens is they're just building like a single page application. It might be like a little widget like Adam was trying to show in the sidebar. But that widget is just an iframe. It's just a single page application. And we offer this extensive SDK to interact with Contentful. So you can get this app to do exactly what you want. And actually, Adam, now that you're back, I think maybe you can probably speak a little bit more to that app specifically that you were building. By the way, I don't think everyone saw your screen before.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm gonna elect not to try that again. But so yeah, kind of catching up here. The whole point of that app was to from a content production scaling perspective, it speeds up the creation of multiple variants of a page, right? So essentially what he was taking us through was if a content editor without the app was trying to create like a page variant, cloning that page variant is a task in and of itself. So just going through essentially just cloning the page itself and then cloning all of the components within it is a scaling nightmare. So what this app does is, and it's difficult to explain this, it centralizes everything for the content editor in one page and one pop-up, so that he or she can go through and select which components they want to include in the variant, essentially speeding up the process very quickly.
Lovely stuff. I did have one question though, since we were on that topic, probably more for you, David, perhaps, but to build, you mentioned these widgets are built as single page applications. Is this something that I can use just everyday React skills to create? Yeah.
And in fact, we offer a boilerplate that's based off of the Create React App package. We just call it Create Contentful App. But if you're familiar with React, you're going to be able, your ability to get started is going to be really quick. And we do offer, again, tutorials and example apps. We have like repos and code as examples on how we built the apps. In fact, a lot of our, when we first launched the app framework, all of our apps were open source, so you could go in and check out how we actually coded them. But that being said, I just want to note that you don't need to use React. Again, it's just a single page application. So whatever framework or library you're comfortable with, you're welcome to use. And you can definitely build apps without needing to know or use React. But it certainly is a plus.
And I guess in this specific situation, it's quite helpful that you can use React because, of course, Gatsby is just React. And so you're building your front end using the React technology. You could also enhance Contentful using the same technology, and it's still the same skill set amongst your engineering team. Lovely stuff. I guess then back to you, Adam. What will you be adding? Anything else you'd be adding to the site?
Yeah, so we've got, there's always something being added to the site. And that's kind of the beautiful part about this. We just redesigned the homepage, and then I believe we have a careers page that's about to be deployed soon. But we're currently working on a site-wide styling update, which is going to be huge also. And I believe they're constantly sending out monthly updates and product features. So there's always something happening. There's always something exciting going on, at the ServiceTitan's marketing team.
Lovely stuff. I was just having a look over the questions. Let me see if I can pick out a couple. Well, firstly, I guess, are there any specific questions from your end, Adam, that you hadn't already covered or didn't already know about Contentful? And perhaps there's an opportunity for David for you to let us know of any new interesting features that are coming up.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I can answer that question from a different perspective. Kind of lessons learned throughout this entire project, and then what lessons the audience can take from this. Kind of the whole project with ServiceTitan, apart from like the sheer success of the toolbox, right? That was we had high expectations for it, but we didn't think that it would move the needle this quickly. And one of the major points there, and one of the things that we found most surprising about this, and this is what we were kind of alluding to earlier on, is how prevalent it is that some or that many SaaS companies trap themselves. And here's what I mean by that. So these are companies that specialize in product development, right? They have an entire force of talented developers building out awesome products, and they still have issues building the proper tools, that use the same coding language as it sounded like you guys were discussing, for marketers and content creators to do their jobs well. So we've seen things like simply updating a blog post, being a roadblock for SaaS marketing departments. It's kind of crazy to think about. So then I guess to kind of bring this around to your point is, and this all kind of ties back to your website team setup and the technologies they use, right? You really should be asking yourself a few questions constantly. And that is our content workflow as fast as possible? Is our marketing department cross-functional with integrated representatives from design and development, right? And the keyword there is integrated. Are we agile? Like, are we constantly meeting? Are we collaborating? Are we producing content? Are we measuring? Are we adapting? And all of this just kind of goes through, are we doing our best to reduce risk, right? That's kind of like the one of the key factors here. So I'm kind of skirting this answer, Paul, and I apologize, but like if you're not answering yes to all of these questions, your website team probably isn't structured properly, right? And it isn't empowered enough, right? And we see this all the time in marketing departments. As we've been discussing, departments that rely on the product's engineering team. That's pretty much been the whole theme here. But there's also marketing departments that are grappling together an entire network of contractors, right? Part-time contractors. That's risky and slow, right? There's nothing agile about that. Even hiring within can be really difficult and expensive and slow. So like, the only way all of this really works is with a cross-functional marketing team that treats the website like the product that it is, right? Or, what we like to call here at Webstacks is website product team, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what your website is. That's a perspective you have. That's the mentality that you should always kind of move forward with, is your website is a product and it's never done. So that's what is like, that's what we should all be trying to evolve to.
Sure.
And better ourselves at. So.
Yeah. I was just going to pick up actually one from the chat. I'll just read it out now. This is from Paola. I'd like to ask if Gatsby can be a good holistic solution to promote and market a creative business. So I guess, David, let's throw to you. I've got some input I can add from the Gatsby side, but I'd be curious to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. From what I've seen, depending on business size, your needs are going to be different, but the Contentful Gatsby combo really goes from proof of concept to industrial scale really quickly and easily. So if you are, thinking about building just a small website, or you have a small business, this still could be a very viable option. But again, I think what we're talking about here is if you do employ like a marketing team, or if you have different divisions, this is where a lot of the power is going to be coming from, because it's a lot easier to coordinate all of your decisions using these tools. But that being said, that again also scales from the individual level to a team and organizational level, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, and I guess, from our end, it's kind of the beauty of the whole purpose of the headless setup is that, whatever you've got coming from Contentful can be adjusted and reused in creative and interesting ways with Gatsby on the front end, because it's completely customizable. You build it yourself. Whereas I guess, from some old legacy CMS solutions, you're kind of stuck with whatever that content model has, and it isn't necessarily fully adaptable for your business needs. But I think in both cases with Gatsby and Contentful, as Adam's proved, you can kind of build out anything to suit the business needs, and it just answers everybody's questions, really.
It's a beautiful thing when it's up and running.
Certainly is. Another question just popped in. Thank you, James. How flexible is the Contentful free tier for smaller businesses?
Yeah, so I can take that. I think that's always going to depend, so I can't give you a straightforward answer there. But like I said, when you're doing proof of concept, or when you're running a small business, this might be enough, right? If we're talking about only a few user accounts and only needing so much space, then this might be an option for you. We do actually offer more plans that have higher limits based on certain businesses. I think you're gonna have to check on the documentation there, but certain businesses actually do, we do allow for larger free spaces and tiers depending on what you're doing.
Sure. And how daring are you feeling, Adam? And would you like to attempt the screen share and video, the video again? I think what you had to show was pretty interesting, and I would like to dig in a little bit more into the custom apps that you've been building at Webstacks.
Totally. I mean, I'm happy to share it again. There's construction going on all over my apartment, so I'm just getting these power outages left and right. So I guess should we try this again, or should we follow this? Should we follow it up with like as a post webinar share?
Let's try it again, and if we lose you, then we'll call it there. But I think if we do lose you, then we'll be sure to include it in the follow-up email.
Okay, so I'm gonna need a little bit of 1 second here.
Maybe if the sound doesn't work this time, you could just kind of walk us through like live instead of playing the sound. I don't know if that's what caused the problem last time. You know.
Yeah, that makes sense. We can definitely do that. Okay, sharing sound. Are you still with me?
We are, but I can't see what you're screen sharing.
Yeah, it looks like it's frozen on my end too. That's unfortunate.
I'm so sorry, guys. This is unfortunate because it worked through our it worked yesterday. I'm just getting the rainbow wheel of death right now.
All right. Maybe we've pushed our luck a little bit too much. I think with that, then, if there are any questions, any further questions, we'll do our best to follow them up in the email that will come out next week.
Totally.
Let me just see if I have any further housekeeping to do. And here we go. Yep. So thanks both of you for joining us. What's the best way to contact eReview if folks have questions, David and Adam? Can they contact you via Twitter or through the main website?
Yeah, you can. That works too. LinkedIn is always the best for me.
LinkedIn for you. Okay, fine.
Yeah, and I think same for me. If you have questions for Contentful, we have our community, contentful.com/developers, for a lot of resources there. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Lovely stuff. Okay, and then just the final reminder that the closed caption version will go out next week. Feel free to give the Gatsby JS account a follow on Twitter, and stay tuned for some for coming up features, future features. Thanks everyone for joining. Lovely to speak to you both, and yeah, we'll call it there, I think.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you.